Today, we're looking at Diamine's Soft Mint. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Diamine Soft Mint is a green ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Pilot Metropolitan with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see that this is a pure green. It just pushes its way up. There's a darker part and then it's lighter. It's just sort of slowed down at that point. But this is a pure green. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And it does trail its way up there. There's little bits of that green left. There's a slight line across the bottom, but basically it would be hard to tell these two chromatographies apart. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it surprisingly handled itself very well. That extra fine became about a fine, maybe fine medium, but it didn't blow out, become blurry, or unreadable. I would feel safe using it. Water is completely reactivating and lifting it off of the page. We're seeing plenty of the white of the paper, easily seeing the dots from the Rhodia dot paper. Water is all that it's going to take to get this ink out of your pen. Now, Pen Flush did everything that water did, nothing more, because you can't do too much more. And the 1/3 bleach solution absolutely obliterated it, but there's no need to use the bleach solution or Pen Flush to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Diamine's Soft Mint has a viscosity of 3.21, and I am shocked that this is that dry an ink. I wouldn't have thought it while I was writing with it, but that's where it came up. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Diamine Soft Mint has an average dry time of 15 seconds, making it normal. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading. It's a bit difficult for the camera to see, but the color is very nice. While the camera's having some difficulty, let me see if I can maybe zoom in and help it out. It looks like it should be an unusable color, but it's very usable, very pleasant to look at. In the 1.1, it looks beautiful as a color, despite any properties that it's not giving. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The medium is the exact same tone as the extra fine. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't get any in the smear test. I don't think you could recover it. Now, the camera shows it as a little harder to read, but it's much easier in person. This is a surprisingly pleasant green, despite how light it is. Tomoe River, no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1, again, looks fantastic. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 17 seconds to dry. The medium is the same exact tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade again. 22 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. And the smear test, you couldn't recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Still an amazingly pleasant tone to look at. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. It's the same tone as the 1.1. It's the same tone as the medium. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. This is a very nice looking color that at first glance, still it looks like I shouldn't be able to really read it comfortably, but I can. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we got none, and the smear test shows we can't really recover this if we smear while we're writing. White lines. Now the 1.1 gets some bleed spots. There's a couple little spots that show up on the extra fine and the medium as well. So we do get some spots where it's bleeding heavy into the page. It is not bleeding through the page. It's not making the back of the page unusable, except for the 1.1. And it doesn't touch the page underneath. So it's performing pretty well here, considering. This is not really a fountain pen friendly paper. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone as that 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 1 second to dry. 1 second, and it was not bleeding through like crazy. That's amazing. The medium is the exact same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 2 seconds to dry, almost instant for both of these, really. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect any and we didn't get any. And the smear test, I think you could recover this without any real difficulties if you smeared while you were writing. Strathmore calligraphy paper. Now, other than the scrubby, where we start to see it coming through a little bit, but I'm putting it on thick and I might be scratching through the page a little bit there. We get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 still looks amazing as a tone. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading at all. The extra fine, still a great tone. Same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the 1.1. Same tone as the extra fine. This is a perfectly boring, beautiful ink. This is so nice. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect any and we didn't get any. This that looks like it's on camera isn't in person. So it's very strange. The smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. So P. Berger paper. This is a French rule paper. It's a student grade paper. There's a lot of bleed spots. A lot of bleed spots. I don't think it makes the back of the page unusable if you really wanted to use the back of the page. It does not touch the page underneath. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. It performs very well here. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. The extra fine on camera looks a little bit lighter right here, but it's the same tone in person. So this is a color that the camera is having a little bit of trouble with. I'm hoping I can get it all fixed in post. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 4 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect any and we didn't get any. The smear test, I believe you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. And that is all that I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Diamine Soft Mint, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I like this green and I wanted it to go with a nice gray, and I chose Diamine's Graphite. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Diamine's Soft Mint? At first, when I was using this ink and putting it down, I said this is going to be god-awful, too light to use. But it turns out it's not. It's actually very pleasant to use. It's not hard on your eyes. This is a great green that isn't very dark. It's dark enough to read without any real kinds of problems. And given the right nib, you do see some pretty decent shading. Now, the right nib means it needs to be dry enough to let it have that shading come through. If you're using a gusher of a pen, you're not going to get the shading that this ink can offer. I was pleasantly surprised with this green because, again, I was really not looking forward to it. Once I was seeing it, I said this is going to be bad. It's going to be like writing with a yellow. And I was wrong. This is a great green. Thanks for watching.